Hello and welcome back. Today we have two very special ladies with us, which I will introduce in a second. And I'm just so excited to have them on. And thank you guys all for viewing. I myself right now have, I think, a sinus infection going on. So forgive me if I start coughing or if my nasal stuff gets all in the way. But I'm glad everybody's on tonight. I'm going to see if anybody's in the chat room yet. Let's say hello. Hi, Susan. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're here today. So Jenny is not here to be my producer tonight, so I'm going to do my best with comments. She's always the one putting up comments, and she usually runs the ads as I'm talking about them. So I'm going to try to do both tonight. We're going to do the best we can. This is a flowy kind of real show. Hi, Angie. Welcome. So just to remind you, we have our t-shirts and our hoodies are now available. It's on the Etsy shop. I don't know how to do this without Jenny. I know, but she had to work. So I know she has there we go. She has a ticker. There we go. So down here, there's my Etsy shop. You can buy our t-shirts, hoodies, or long sleeve tees. And they are available now. You can go on ahead over there for that. And then I wanted to kind of highlight what's going on this weekend. This weekend, we are doing a metaphysical fair at the 1912 Historic Hoover House. It's a bed and breakfast in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. We are going to have psychics, healers, Reiki, actually a tattoo artist and a piercer is going to be there. Lots of vendors with candles and like metaphysical stuff and crafts. And we're going to do a couple of raffles. And I don't know if she's on here, but I think there is going to be possibly a gallery reading done between myself and one of the other psychic readers that are there. So that is exciting. And this is just the Hoover House. It's where haunted history lives forever. It is a wonderful place. It's my home away from home. They are a haunted location. They do paranormal investigations, but they're also a bed and breakfast. And Pamela Berry makes the absolute best breakfast. And you guys need to go check it out. I think they are still booking for, I don't know if she's booked for the rest of the year, but they still are booking some teams to come up. And I just lost things. Oh no, I don't know how to do this. Upcoming events on September 6th, we will be at the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Adventure in Farmington, PA, which is out by Pittsburgh. The weekend after that, I'm at West Virginia State Penn Paracon, where I'm speaking on how to protect yourself in investigations and being an empath and being around negative energy. On the 21st, I'll be at the New Jersey Psychic Fair. The 28th and 29th, the Cryptid and Supernatural Expo. October 5th is Albatwitch Day. And then the Central PA Tattoo and Horror Show at the end or the mid-October. We are still looking for sponsors. It is $60 a month. And I will you'll see here in a few seconds, some of our sponsors coming up. And I will have an ad for you guys and then also post on my social media. Contact me for more details. And this is one of our sponsors, Moon Mist Crystals. Sabrina is an absolute wonderful person. They are located in Glenmore, Pennsylvania, which is outside of Pottstown, I believe. I've done a couple events there. She does like tarot reading events, and she has a Reiki events and vendor events. She has jewelry. Her crystals are probably the best price I have seen all around. She doesn't overprice things. She doesn't put them up way higher than they should be. So like if you're looking for some crystals, she is definitely the place to go. And then I wanted to highlight that the West Virginia Penitentiary Horror and Paracon, they are doing an investigation Friday the 13th and Saturday the 14th, an overnight investigation. If you buy tickets to the investigation, you get passes to the Paracon. It is going to be a wonderful, wonderful event. And then one last, Jenny and my buddy Russ, they have two podcasts they run together. Russ's Compass of Curiosity is Russ's podcast. That's on Monday nights at 8 p.m. And, or actually it's 9 p.m. I believe, 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And then Unturned Pages is on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Central and 9 p.m. Eastern. You can find them anywhere you can actually find podcasts. I think that's the last of my slides. Okay, so back to me and back to our guests. We have Michelle and Reverend, oh, I can't talk today, Rachel, with us. And I did post a little blurb about them, but I want to just bring them on because these two girls, I know them from when I was becoming attuned to Reiki, and that's kind of where I met them with Ricky and Reiki Space and Learning Place. And we kind of just formed this connection. We don't get to see each other enough, but we kind of always are following along and talking to each other. So I'm so excited to have them on. So without further ado, I'm going to add them to the stage. So we have Michelle and Rachel, Reverend Rachel. And Rachel, you have no sound.
And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hi.
You guys can join us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having us. And this is so fun to be together. Rachel and I were just talking about this last time we saw each other. So
I know, and it's kind of weird how this one happened because I was trying to get you both, and I forget exactly how it happened, but it ended up being like, oh, on the same dates. And I was booking people, and I'm like, hey, you guys want to just do it together? And we're like,
I'm
sure.
down. I love collaborating.
Yeah, me too. It was perfect. Yeah. It's a great way to it's a reunion.
Yeah, it was almost like a universal design that just kind of happened because it seemed like I think I had forgotten something and I had like reached out to both of you and I'm like, hey, why don't we just do them both at the same time? So
yeah, I love how easy it was. That's how you know.
It did. It really. Oh, well, we have a kitty cat that just is that a cat?
Yes.
Okay. We have a cat joining us. That is the star of the show tonight. What is the cat's name?
Jura. Jura with Jura. Jura. Yeah.
Jura. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to know that story. Where does the name come from?
So Jura is a place in Scotland that makes really good whiskey. So that's what,
Okay.
And we have a cat named Whiskey. We have one of our cats is named Whiskey. So so we do.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's just so funny. I have a couple of friends that are from Scotland. He's usually on. I don't see him in the comments yet, but he is from Scotland and he's actually going to be on the podcast in a couple of weeks. So yes, Scotland, another connection there.
Scotland was one of my favorite countries to visit when I did a European tour. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I've never been. I want to go. Have you been, Rachel?
I have not been.
There's my Scotland buddy, Damien. This is Damien from Scotland.
I love it. Wonderful.
So, Rachel, have you been to Scotland? I know Michelle has.
I have not. We were just in Europe, parts of Europe this summer, but we didn't go to Scotland or we were in England, but we weren't in Scotland this time. We thought, well, another time. So.
Another time.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to go to Greece lately. Like that's on my radar a lot.
Isn't that where Ricky's going?
Yes. Yeah, Ricky's different people keep mentioning it. Yeah.
Yeah. Greece would be cool. Scotland's calling me. I need to go to Scotland.
Absolutely.
And go over there. So what was your favorite part of Scotland, Michelle? What was your favorite part?
I don't know. It's really hard. Like I really enjoyed.
Hello, Russ.
We spent a lot of time on a bus. I do remember that. The rolling hills, were just so beautiful, and the people were so friendly. Yeah. That's beautiful really cool. Scenery.
That's very cool. Mm-hmm. So let me start with you, Rachel. I just want to ask, what drew you to? I guess I consider both of you healers. I lost the screen. I don't know technology. I consider both of you healers. So, Rachel, what kind of drew you to this world of healing and helping others? Where did that go? Where did that first come from?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It actually began with my relationship with my mother. My mother was, when I was a child, she was disabled from polio that she had as a child. And then always, my mother always walked with a limp. And if people would tease my mom, I would be kind of the person standing up for her, kind of her guardian in a way. And my dad, of course, he was very supportive, and he would help my mom. And so I was always surrounded by people that helped each other, cared for each other. And my mom took care of my sister and I. She didn't even know if she was going to be able to have children. Um, it was really quite wonderful. So I have a sister, one sister, so she and I are the beginners of that. And then we ended up being in helping professions. So I went to college to study elementary education originally and organizational communication. So I actually worked in different churches. I was a church nerd as a kid, which I had a very supportive, loving church environment. I know not everybody has that, but that my experience was very positive and very nurturing. And so folks there helped me to, the other pastors at my church and members were very supportive and supporting me and different things that I was interested in. I grew up in a big city in Chicago, and so I was surrounded by different avenues for growth and helping people in healing. I worked in a homeless shelter. I taught in the Chicago public schools where I went to school. So that was really quite wonderful and crazy all at the same time. And then because I had such a positive church experience later on, and such good role models for ministry that I just felt like it just made sense for me to go into the ministry. I had such diverse things that I was interested in, not only in the healing area, but in the area of creativity. I'm also a musician and like to sing, and so I really, for me, that was all healing to me. Being out in nature, even though I grew up in a big city, I found the city a very healing place for me, a very comforting place. Um, and so all of those things combined eventually led me into the ministry where I went to seminary in the Chicago area. And then from there, I just was naturally drawn to work with people at the end of life. So most of the work I've done in the past 25 years as an ordained minister has been working at the bedsides of people. I've worked in hospice and as a hospital chaplain. I've also worked in churches as well in my denomination. Um, so, it's that I've always been drawn to that. I always say, people say they enjoy it's so funny because my husband is also a pastor and he loves weddings. So he's the wedding guy and I'm the funeral girl. So
I love that. I love the balance of that for you.
I know,
That's
right?
beautiful.
It's a balance,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's really fun. That's really fun for us. I've always liked funerals because there's usually not as much drama as weddings. I think that's why I'm attracted to it. I don't know. But that's what I love. And
That's
I
usually
just
where all
love
the
being
forgiveness and stuff happens.
right,
Yeah.
We're like, oh,
right,
we love
exactly,
each other
right.
more.
Right. They're like, I really need this, so it's different than the wedding, but yeah. But I really enjoy just connecting with people at that very
Mhm.
intimate level. And so early on, I would be touching people, holding their hands, hugging them. I usually like to, I'll come up and if somebody's in the dying process, I might kiss them on the forehead or something like that. I just would always be attracted to do that. And people would be like, "Oh, I feel better," or I feel like they would feel the warmth of my hands. And so I always thought, oh, this is interesting. So I, did a little more research and, realized that we all have this Reiki energy, right? I mean, we all are
Mhm.
connected. And so I didn't even know what Reiki was. So I did some other modalities like healing touch, which was very popular back in the 90s at the time. And so I studied that, and it just enhanced what I did, and would incorporate that into being at bedsides with people. And then later on, I had an experience with Reiki, and then I kind of led me into that, and it just felt very natural that I should be doing this.
Yeah,
And
you
there's
both are
more to
Reiki
that as
masters,
well,
right?
but yes,
Mhm.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the beginning of the story, but I'll stop there. So because
I love
Yeah.
listening to you tell that. And I actually didn't know all of that about you. And it's nice to
yeah,
know because I also grew up in I went to school and I was really into my CCD classes, and I
yeah,
learned a lot during that time.
yes,
I was the kid asking a lot of questions.
yes, yes,
um, and, so I appreciate, how you embody that experience for others, because we think of religion as like this one thing. So when somebody hears Reverend Rachel, they might have this idea, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's true.
Sometimes
Like you,
yeah,
you,
yeah. Go ahead,
yeah,
sis. Yeah,
you said it's all right. You had a very positive church experience. I did
yeah,
growing up. I grew up Catholic,
yeah.
CCD, all that stuff.
Right,
But then, I went to a different denomination and I didn't have a very good experience.
right.
So right now I'm not in a church and I have a more of a spiritual outlook on life. But respect all of it. Like
Yeah,
it really is. It's about helping, and I think that,
right,
I
It
think we
definitely
all can
serves
kind of
a
pull
purpose.
from that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
right,
Yeah. It's just when it becomes exclusive where,
right.
Wherever it
Well, and
gets you there to help others.
yes. Well, and this is what kind of, it's interesting, what kind of drew me to Reiki was actually right before the pandemic started.
oh, hi,
Uh,
Alicia.
Hi,
hey,
Alicia.
uh, I was getting a lot of people concerned about, just the stress in the world. Let's just put it that way. All the stresses of the world, the stresses of in our country, the stress, just different levels of stress, and more people were coming to me, and I really was feeling stronger and stronger that Reiki was one of the ways, and that
Mhm.
was going to help, and also just learning and increasing my knowledge and language of trauma, because there's so much trauma out there, and I was just finding that
Mhm.
touch was so important, and a lot of that was missing. I found,
Yeah.
and just good,
Mhm.
healthy touch. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just so that kind of precipitated that. But it is very interesting. A lot of
Mhm.
religious trauma. I work with a lot of people that have had religious trauma, and so trying to
Mhm.
help them through that with Reiki, with conversation, absolutely. So
Do you ever get people? I've had people who struggle with, like, they'll come, and they'll struggle with the fact that, like, they're having a Reiki session, but, like, they can't, like, that goes against, like, they don't even really, it can't even, like, really
Yeah.
put into words why, but it, like,
right.
goes against something in their religion.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
been beautiful. Like, I've been able to, like, sit and talk with them. We've had good
Mhm.
Good.
conversation. Um,
Good.
but I'm
And what
curious
do
if
you
you
tell
find
them?
that.
What do you tell them, Michelle?
Well,
What
for
do
Yeah, I'm
me,
curious.
yeah.
I've had
So
the
for
same.
me, it's about, we can call it consciousness or universe or God or whatever you want to call it. Is that I sort of look at it now as like the omni,
Yeah.
and like that we
Mhm.
are a part of that thing. So I kind of always bring it to that like sort of bigger consciousness place, and that like
Right.
sort of collective consciousness or Christ consciousness,
Yes.
that we're
Yes.
all connected.
Mhm.
And so, that we have this healing. And then I sort of enter into science where it's like, and we are
So you're like
electromagnetic
me.
beings.
You're the
Right.
science part. I do that.
I love that part
Like,
too.
well, we are all
I
made up of
do too.
energy.
Exactly.
Yes,
It's
and we
the
do emit a
law.
frequency and we affect
Yeah,
each other. So,
we
Right.
do.
when
Yeah.
you put hands on someone or even in their vicinity, right? Because
Right.
like
Right.
what is it? The heart like resonates like 5 feet out in front of us or something, or that's like,
Exactly.
so we can't help but affect each other.
We
Well,
can't.
and
I
what,
mean, it
absolutely.
obviously.
Yeah. And what I love about this is I have that question several times. I've had people, oh, it's against my beliefs or whatever. And so I don't even, I'm just sort of like, oh, okay, and then, but what I usually, if people ask me how, like for me, like how, is that an issue? For me, it's never been an issue because I guess I grew up in a very pluralistic home and was surrounded by people of different faiths. So I've always thought outside the box anyway, theologically, and just even in my own denomination. So that's never been an issue for me personally. However, when people do come to me, I always say, well, think of it this way. Think of like when the law, I mean, and I always start with science too, actually, surprisingly. And I'll say, well, in science, we have the law of thermodynamics, right? Where does that energy go, right? What happens to it, especially working with people after at the end of life? Where does that go? What's happening, right? And so we're helping just keep that energy through Reiki. We're just focusing um, the energy. We are not directing it in any way. It's just we're just this conduit, right, for this energy.
And
But
like
often,
Sorry.
yeah. Sorry, I can't see.
No,
From my
Alicia said proven even a
yeah,
hug past a certain amount of seconds is healing.
yes,
And I was thinking of that
yes,
earlier, like when we were talking, like
yes. Hug,
that's that
hug is
energy.
And releases
right.
oxytocin. Yeah, like there are
Exactly,
Hmm.
actual benefits to the
exactly.
body,
Well,
to the
and then when
nervous
people
system.
ask, yeah, and then if people ask me about particular, because I'm a Christian pastor, although I really consider myself more of a Buddhist Christian, but and people ask me about specific things, I usually say, well, Jesus, of all the many great teachers, religious teachers, healed people with touch,
Hmm.
or people would have come to him and touch. So, so there was,
Yes.
and you could find that it's across religions. There's a healing component of every indigenous culture. And so I usually address that with people, and then they stop and think of like, oh yeah, or like we hug a child when they hurt themselves, right? Why do we
Hmm.
do
I always
so
say when you bump your elbow or you hit something
right,
or you hit your toe,
right, and you're
what are the first thing you do? You take
right,
your hands on it and you hold it.
right,
Yeah.
And so I think that
And the heat from your
that's a
hand.
natural thing. Yeah, I think that's a natural thing for us is to that hands-on healing. I've had I wanted to comment. I've had very similar experiences,
mm,
from, I guess we're talking about that religious trauma, stuff like
right,
that, where I was told that I'm practicing, working with the devil with Reiki and
right,
stuff like that. And I try to explain that some people just, it doesn't get through to that. I literally just did a Reiki session last weekend, with a girl, and I was saying the Lord's Prayer over her and Hail Marys. And so I'm like,
yeah,
to me, you can connect that Reiki energy, that source energy, to whatever deity, whatever source, whatever
right,
you want to call it. I am more of a Buddhist practitioner myself, more spiritualist. I don't like to use any names for things.
right,
Universal energy.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I do feel like we we need to get past that. We need to get past this. This is
right.
all in here. This healing by touch.
Well, and I think that's
I
part
want to.
of
I
the
don't want to stop you there, but we haven't introduced Michelle and kind of given her
oh,
background. So,
Oh my God. Yeah.
Michelle,
yeah,
can you
no
tell us
problem.
a little about yourself and how you got into this, and a little bit about you? Like, who?
How did I get into this? Well, I would say my big epiphany was everything is energy that came to me in the middle of, I would say, the end of my MSW, my first year at my MSW program, which I embarked upon because I am also sort of a natural helper. I always gravitate toward people. I gravitate towards people and they gravitate towards me. And so I went to school.
MSW, so I feel it.
Yeah. And then, but like something changed for me at that time where I was going through a lot of stuff in my like personal life, coming to some awakenings. Because this was like shortly after I had both of my children, which was huge catalyst experience for me, waking up and being like, wow, okay. And all the things that start unraveling at that time. So I was watching this video about the levitation of water droplets through the acoustic levitation through. And so it was really through sound healing that started me on my everything is energy. And it just was like this, my mind just exploded. And then from there, I sort of just pursued Reiki, and it was just very natural for me. Like I've always been a hands-on person, which I've now had to learn. Like I've learned good lessons about, what's safe, like just because I want to like touch somebody, like I'm learning. So that's what it is to be trauma informed. Exactly. Yes. So like even with the best of intentions, like somebody might not feel safe in that. So being sensitive to that, even though that's a healing thing for me. So consent,
informed.
Absolutely. Consent is like a big thing. I used, so even being a reader or something, like I don't tap into people's energy. You on some level you can't help it because we are sensitive beings, right? Like, but like I don't purposely feel a need to like drill in more like I used to when I was less and less conscious of those things that I was doing.
I like that word conscious. Yeah. Like I think that's is coming.
And then I went back to school. So I switched from my MSW to psychology. Because it really, for me, is about the understanding of human behavior that I find so fascinating. Like, why do we do the things we do? Why do I? Really, it was my journey into me. Like, why am I this way? But then, like, understanding myself, then I can better understand dynamics in relationships and the people in my world. And, so healing on so many levels.
Yeah. And you're very public, like I am, with your healing.
I am.
I so appreciate that. I do.
It's a compulsion, really. Like I can't help it.
Well, I think you're called to do it because there's times
it is a calling.
I've been going through something, and all of a sudden you just posted exactly what I was going through, and I'm like,
and you do that for me, and I love that, and that's why it reinforces that, like, because I see myself in others, and it's healing for me. It's validating. And so there's something I try to really keep it real, including my hard moments, Yeah.
And I think we need to show people. I think that's you and I both are very similar with that. We show people that emotion is okay.
Yes.
We need to feel that. We need to let it out. It's okay to be a hot mess sometimes, like
it's the experience. And I think some of it is like, I want to like impress upon people that I know that we don't love to be, I talk a lot about pain, and it's not like I'm here to experience so much pain. I experience so much joy, actually, but it's like partly because I've embraced that like life does include some suffering, and it's part of it.
To that Buddhist, like we're talking about, Rachel, like you have that Buddhist aspect, the suffering.
Right. Well, and that's and when you're talking, Michelle, I love the post because a lot of we're just, so many people are not comfortable with just being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like, okay, should I say something? Like,
I don't like it either.
Right. It's like, okay, and people, I'm like, just say, look, I'm okay. Thanks for saying that. I really appreciate you sharing. Like you don't have to, I think that's part of the thing I've learned over the years is sometimes silence is the best. But of course, on social media, if nobody responds, then it's kind of like, there's that ground of like, do you want them to respond or not? But, just to be with people in that moment, right? I mean, I think that that's what we're
holding space.
Yeah. Holding space. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. Like, I think a lot of times Michelle, tell me if you feel this way as well. Like when I make those posts and I'm in those moments, I'm really not thinking about what anybody's going to say. It's more of a release for me.
It's a cathartic experience for me.
Very cathartic. Yeah.
I a lot of times I'll post something and I'll just like walk away from it because it's just something I had to get out. And then like I'll come back and I'm like, wow, you know, like.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about going back and deleting a post after you
Oh,
post?
sure. And I have. Yeah.
I have. Recently, I have not. There was one recently, actually just last week, I thought about deleting it. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not going to, because this is who I am.
Yeah. Good for you.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I think, Rachel, you were
I'm sorry.
definitely more
Go ahead.
grounded than Michelle and I are. We are grounded, but I think we
No,
have to be
no,
very,
you are. It's just different. I think I have to say, I just wanted to comment that I love that you guys are that vulnerable. For me, I still keep that like I have to like hold it in because who's going to be reading this, and I'm like judging, like already thinking like who's going to be, making a comment because there's. But
Oh,
most
I
of those
mean,
people I've deleted or unfriended, so it's probably okay now. So that's like one side of my family that I've had to like block them all. So I mean, really, I could say whatever I want, but I try. Like, I feel like, is that too much? Like, I guess that's always a question about like boundaries. Like, is it the boundary? Like, is it okay to do all of that? For you two, it's perfectly okay. For me, I'm still like, oh, I don't know. Should I tell them?
you have to do
Like,
what feels like authentic to
right?
you, you know?
Yeah,
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 Like not
exactly.
everybody
Right.
maybe feels, I mean, for me, it really is like
Yeah.
and Mercury is in my first house astrologically. Like I came here with something to say.
yeah.
And that's been
Yeah.
hard. Like I've had to do like throat chakra work around that.
Mercury is my ruling planet, so I'm a
Oh,
Virgo. So,
so am I.
Michelle, what is your
See, I'm a
sign?
Virgo
Yeah.
too.
I'm a Cancer is my ruling planet. I'm a
Okay.
double Cancer Capricorn
I'm a
moon.
Cancer rising, though. So,
Yeah, I'm a Cancer sun and rising. Yeah, I'm super
okay.
sensitive.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm so new at all this stuff. I
Well, we
have
have
no
Alicia
idea.
on here. She can do all of our
Yeah.
charts.
There you go.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
had
know.
her on the podcast a while back. She was on.
she's amazing.
Chart.
I love her.
Yes.
And actually, her and I are charts.
Oh,
We
I
have
have a
some
Cancer sun, not a
She
rising.
is.
Cancer
Yeah.
sun. Oh no, wait.
Well,
She's a
she's a
Cancer sun.
Cancer sun. Yeah.
Okay.
Our charts have some similarities, so we have similar
Mhm.
journey experiences.
Yes, very much. It was amazing having her on. That I want to try to get you back, Alicia, but I know you got a lot of things going on. So we all kind of work in the field of trauma.
Yeah.
I feel like trauma itself resonates this certain energy. Um, do you feel like you were drawn to work in trauma, or do you feel like it just kind of happened? It was like, well, I guess that's the same question, but
Well.
like, what is the attraction to the trauma? I hate to say it like that, but
No, I get
why
what
did you
you're
do trauma?
saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll just say that for me, it was like a lot of it was healing my own trauma. And I do sort of in that witchy way feel like as, you know, as within, so without, as above, so below. So it's like as I'm doing that journey of healing my own trauma, it was clear to me also that so many people experience trauma. And if we want to make real change, because I also feel like I came here to help make some change. And maybe that's just by questioning things, right? Or being a little rebellious about some stuff. So, you know, it's just like, how can we make systemic change? We have to help people heal from trauma. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. I think for me, thinking, well, I didn't really grow up with any trauma. And then I thought, well, no, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So, there you go. That's what I say. That is the
Generation
trauma
X alone
generation
has
I grew
trauma.
up. But, right. And so it's just been very interesting to uncover that for myself because I think, and I forgot to mention, I think, Michelle, a lot of the work we're doing is because we have to start with ourselves. And if anyone is a Reiki practitioner, the first class is about self Reiki and taking care of yourself. So, it just all feels like, okay, I've got to work on myself and continually work on myself. So it's not just done. But I find that it's just more and more people are coming forward with their different experiences they've had, and they're feeling more and more comfortable to share, I think, today than, say, even 10, 15 years ago. I am finding people, and especially around the issues of death and dying, there's a lot of trauma around those subjects. And so just putting that out there and having honest conversations about those types of things is something that I enjoy connecting with people about. I work with a friend of mine who's a death doula. We're working on a big,
I've
another
been
big
trying to
event.
get her on, and our schedules aren't
Yeah,
working.
yep, Beth Montgomery. So give her a
Yes.
shout out to Beth. But she and I are, we've collaborated on a few things. And so I find that connection, and it helps people to know that there are people that are supporting them from the beginning to the very end and beyond. So that's the
Because
part
I
that I
feel we
still
we
look at.
heal through
Yeah. Mhm.
community and connection.
Yes,
You know, I,
yes,
I I feel like
100%.
that's how we heal
Yeah,
traumas.
right.
Mm,
As much as
agree.
our individualistic culture is, where it's all about me, I need to succeed, I need to rise the ladder. Um, you know, us as humans, I do believe that we are collectivists. Like our soul needs a collectivist culture where we need community. We need community heal. To be
We do.
part
We
of that.
we can't. It's very much about being like, you want to be your whole person, right? And you're here and to here take care of yourself. But like,
Yeah,
we do need each other, and we can't do it alone. Even just the idea, like, we all have blind spots. Like, I need that reflection so I can see more parts of me.
exactly. I
Exactly. I love how you said that, because I think when we see in others, it's a reflection of ourselves. Like with you and I see things in you, and it's actually a reflection of me. Um,
right.
and I think a lot of people are afraid to look at their reflection.
Yes.
I do.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. The reflection thing is very. It's hard. I mean, it's very scary
It
to
is.
stare at yourself in the mirror, or even look at
It
yourself on the
is.
street.
But
Like,
wasn't
who's
that
that?
our first lesson in Reiki 1? Was to stare
Yes.
at ourselves in the
Yes.
mirror,
Stare at yourself in the mirror. Right.
to
Right.
look into our eyes in the mirror. But it
Right.
is like,
Right.
we don't like to make mistakes. We don't like to be imperfect. And I don't know where we got this ideal that we had to be perfect. And this
Right.
idea that this we had to be perfect because we're humans. We are fallible creatures. We're
Right.
hedonistic
I
by
was just gonna
nature.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like, but we
Absolutely.
feel like we have to
And
be
that's
perfect.
so much of that is what makes us the beautiful beings that we are, and like learning from those experiences.
Yeah.
So
Like, it's
Absolutely.
okay to mess up. I'm fine. Like,
Right.
you're a Virgo, need perfection. I know, I do, and I guess it is. I do. Like, there's certain things that, like right now, everything in front of me is in perfect order, and I keep straightening it, and it's got to be this.
Right.
But
Right. Exactly.
um,
Sorry.
I feel like my Cancer rising is very strong, and then I have a Pisces moon, so I feel like
Yeah. Right.
that kind of balances me out from not being such a perfectionist. But we
Right.
do, and it's this idea that I think we put in our own heads of who we should be, who
Yeah.
society says we should be, especially as women. I think that's a whole nother subject we could talk hours about.
Yeah.
I
um,
Oh,
also find, maybe this will resonate with one of, or both of you, is the like, I have these high expectations for myself because I try to be a self-aware, conscious being. And so when I continue to like trip up on things or revisit things
I'm
and
still
patterns,
here.
um, I can be like hard on myself. And I see that, and that's things that I work on. But I have high standards for myself.
yeah. Yeah. And,
Why do you think
I
you
think,
have such high standards?
right. Right.
I guess because I just expect that, like, because I am conscious of patterns about myself and things, that like I should be better about catching those things.
You just should on yourself.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
But we all do it. We all do. We say we should be this, we should be that.
Hmm.
And
Totally.
yeah, I think we're all trying to like work and live in that flow.
Hmm.
It's not hard. It's hard.
I'm much better at recognizing it now, though, when I'm doing it and like pulling myself out quickly. So that feels like good progress.
Yeah. That's pretty good. And I think it's interesting. I think because oftentimes we put ourselves into we have these expectations um, that we put on ourselves, and I really think that's really the killer. of
Mhm.
relationships with ourselves and with others,
So
are
many
those
things.
expectations.
Yes.
And it's just, and I think about, we put ourselves in these boxes. I think this is what trauma, there's certain boxes that, either high demand religions or, high demand family dynamics or whatever that may be. And, I see that so often. People are like, well, I was told I can only do it this way, this is, and it's like, well, you can make a choice. I think choices are scary. Some
Oh,
people think
yes. Yes.
beyond, like, okay, I could do something else with this. And I think even our own bodies, and to think, wow, I could just accept all of this and not
Well,
worry about,
I love what you said
how I,
about choice, because
yeah,
like that's something that like I have this drive to like want to like get free or be free. And like, so, and part of that is like stems from trauma and triggering.
Yes.
So like I look at triggers as an opportunity or an invitation. Like, how am I not free right now? Like what? And I start doing inquiry, like, okay, where do I feel this in my body? What is the story around this? Whatever. Yeah.
And it goes back into that somatic healing. Like
Yeah.
you're a yoga
Mhm.
yeah.
practitioner. I'm a yoga practitioner. And I don't, Rachel, I know you do some body work. You don't do body work at all,
No,
right?
I don't.
Like
Well, I do Bowen method.
Bowen. That's it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
And we
but
store these things in the body. I
yeah.
had a student recently that I attuned to Reiki 1, and she would feel the energy until she got to her sacral, and she's like, I just can't feel anything down there, and I can't. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's trapped trauma. Like it's that because we store it in our bodies, a
And you
lot.
can
Right.
feel it. I mean, I could feel it when I work on other people, and you pick up on the sensation, and then there's mirroring happening in the session, and
Yeah,
you're just
yeah.
familiar.
Hmm.
I'm such a nerd when it comes to just learning more about the emotional body and the spiritual body and the physical, and like how they're all connected.
Oh, I love it. Me too. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Me too.
I love that. And people come and they're like, well, I have this pain and it keeps coming back. But yet, when we get down and dirty and really think about, well, why is that pain keep coming back? And maybe a pain is just a pain, right? We don't know. But the Reiki, of course, will go where it needs to go. And I
I'm
keep,
going to try to get the light to do this. Have you ever read this book? It's called Creating on Per. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
okay, no, I
Creating on
have not.
Yeah.
Purpose. This will be a good. It's all about the chakras and storing, and exactly what you
Oh,
just kind of said.
nice.
It's
Okay,
Anna Dea Judith, and she
okay,
talks a lot about how we store those
nice.
things and
And I
how
think
Wow.
I love what I love about it is that these are just different modalities, right? Like they're just
Right.
alternatives to a one-way system where it's like, okay, you have a pain, you go to the doctor, you get medication. Like
Mhm.
maybe, and like maybe there's some more to it than that. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Sometimes it might take multiple different modalities
mm-hmm.
That's
to help
right.
someone, and it all about what resonates with them and what's going to work for them.
Well, and what's
I know I see it a
interesting,
lot with my clients.
yeah, I was going to say what you said about the resonating. I also tell people, if you don't resonate with me or you're not, we're not feeling that connection there, I'll recommend someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is part of that collaborating, we talked about in the beginning. I think it's really important that we all, as practitioners, alternative health practitioners or whatever you want to call it, we are working together, not as competitive, because yes, we want to create a business for ourselves, but at the same time, this larger purpose is to help people on their journeys. And so important to me that if you don't resonate with me, there's someone else out there that
Hmm.
you'll connect with
Yeah,
along.
I agree.
Absolutely.
It's not a competition. Like we all rise together. We
Yeah.
have different flavors, like you're
Right.
you and I'm me, and there's nothing
Right.
like that's a beautiful thing. So
It
Exactly.
is. And I love that. And I love that about you guys because there really is never been any competition. I wanted to highlight this. And Alicia, I love you. I'm going to tell you that right now before I go into this because I want to know what your guys' thoughts is. Trauma is needed for growth of the soul. Be grateful for your traumas. I'm having an emotional response to that comment because I've had some pretty severe trauma as a childhood. And it's hard for me sometimes to
I
think
hear that. Yeah.
that was needed for me for soul growth, even though like I really am like, I'm feeling like it's rising up in me right now. And this is what's going to be vulnerable. We're going to be real with this. It's rising up in me right now, Alicia. And I'm like, and I feel that I do feel like it is needed in the bigger picture of consciousness, in the bigger picture of the world, like for karmic healing, Akashic records. I know I see her next comment, but
it made you the
it's so
empathic
hard
person
to
that
be
you are.
grateful.
See, that
It is
realization is what came in
right
for
there.
me. That realization came in for me. And I will say, like, I have significant trauma from my childhood. And it is a weird thing to say. Like, I had a moment where I felt grateful but it came in for me on my own. It's not like anybody ever encouraged that of me. Like, it was a moment for me where I was like, even I could even forgive him, you know what I mean, for what he did, you know what I mean? Like, I could even forgive all of them. And like that experience deepened something within me to help me connect with people in a different and deeper way. So like I did have a moment of that, and it's still hard to read that and think, like, I get that.
I actually had one of those moments today. I was in my yoga practice, and I saw an eagle, and I'm working in shamanic energies now, and I was always called baby eagle by my abuser. And in Native American culture, you're always given a name, and it was like I went through a place of that where I'm like, okay, there was parts of him that I loved. There was parts of him that took care of me. There's parts of him that showed me the world, but then there was a very bad part of him that did very bad things to me. And I'm like, I spent a moment, and I released and I forgave. But still, sometimes it is hard to see a comment like that without reacting. But thank you, Alicia. Thank you. And I feel like you're a very open creature that is able to take a, I don't want to call it a criticism, but take a comment like that. So
it is something like it is something to overcome, and it's something, like she said, it created an empowerment. It absolutely can.
It can. It does.
It's painful to get there, and nobody, it doesn't feel good for sure.
It does. And because I think it's because it came from her, and I know her, and I'm very close with her. So I feel like, it's okay. But when it comes from a stranger sometimes, and you're like, those defenses, but that's those things we need to work through. That's that shadow work. It's not their fault that they're triggering us. It's our triggers. Like, so we need to work through them. So.
Well, and just to add to that, I think the comment on which I love, the growth of the soul. Um, yes, I think that this all shapes us in different ways, and I think, like Michelle, like you said earlier, we each have a different flavor and a different direction. And so when people are going through trauma, we're there for them at these different stages and phases. And yes, it is triggering. And I think that's the hard part, is trying to use those triggers as a teacher for us as we are navigating the trauma. So absolutely, I think it's very difficult. And it's a good friend, right? That usually it's the noble friend or the friends that are telling us, helping us kind of hold us accountable for those triggers and saying, okay, come on now, let's work through it together. I'm going to sit with you in this moment, and not try to fix you, not try to, guide it a certain way. And it's hard, right? But it's very hard because we're like, I don't want to, I'm going to forget that. I don't want to do that. So,
Because we want to push it down. We want to put it under the rug. We want to get rid of
want to
it.
put it right back in that box where it belongs, right?
Or blame somebody else, or blame society.
Oh,
Or, yeah.
that's so much easier, isn't it? I know. So, absolutely. I just wanted to make a comment about forgiveness. So I think sometimes I just came to, as we were talking about that just a little bit, but I did want to touch on this, that, and I think especially in different religions, especially in Catholicism too, and even in my own tradition as well, forgiveness is a word that's thrown around. I have to say, I actually, when I hear the word forgive or forgiveness, I like, ooh, I get all kind of cringy, and because a lot of times I think when you go through a trauma, or we're helping people through healing, especially they think, oh gosh, that pastor's going to tell me I have to forgive, and I don't want to, or I'm not ready, or I'm really angry. And so I tell people, well, you don't have to. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to right now, but you do. Ultimately, the goal would be to forgive yourself. Because I think until we can forgive ourselves, whatever that word means for you, for me, I say be at peace. So if I can just be at peace with myself, and then
For
if you
me, it's
want to,
like a level of acceptance, but yeah,
exactly,
similar.
if you
Acceptance,
want to forgive them or
radical
not, you
acceptance.
don't worry about it. You don't even have to
Mhm.
forgive them. That's my radical thought for the day. But if you
Yeah.
just want to, but you have to get to a point where you can
That's why
accept.
I stressed that it came in for me. Like it really just, nobody like pushed me to have to do that. And it wasn't like a thing. It just was a
Right.
moment that sort of washed over me. And it was like, I didn't have any anger, or like everything just sort of dissolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you almost
Yeah.
feel like sometimes you get stuck in, okay, this was the trauma, so now I'm supposed to hate this person, and this is, and I'm
Right.
supposed to get stuck in it, and
And the
then you realize
story of it all.
I'm
Yeah.
just staying in the narrative. I don't have the feelings anymore, but I'm
Right.
staying in that narrative because that's what I'm supposed to do,
Well, and then
and
you think, oh, I can never,
really
or
trust.
then you start saying, well, I could never get over the trauma because I'm supposed to forgive them and I can't do that, or I'm not ready
Mhm.
for that. And so then people just
Mm-hmm.
continue to retell that, watch the movie over and over and over again. And, I try to tell people, I said, the main things that you yourself, uh, as the one dealing with this, has to be at peace with that, or find the
Mhm.
acceptance, or whatever the word is for you.
And when you do that, actually, when you continue to revisit, like that, you actually put your body through the experience again. Like your brain goes back there, it sends the signals where it needs to go. And so you're reliving.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. And that's hard. I work with a lot of clients where we do that. We go and we,
Mm-hmm.
because I do trauma therapy, and we go revisit when they're ready. There's
Yeah.
a whole step. I mean, your MSW and psychology, like there's a whole process to work up to that point when they're ready to relive it and rewrite the narrative. And that's hard. I
Yeah.
think that's probably the hardest part is to kind of be there. And then, but it's magical. It can be a magical moment where you can just relive it
Oh
and
my gosh. And
really.
there are so many modalities that will help you. EMDR was life changing for me. I can't say enough about it. But there are other similar modalities that do similar things to the brain or get you into that state where you can do that healing. But,
Mine went more hypnosis, but yeah,
mhm.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that's
Hypnosis. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So Alicia
And
says,
bars.
"Do you guys believe you came here to go through things to learn what you came here for?" Absolutely.
100%. Yes. Yes.
Yes, and sometimes I struggle. I used to really buy into the idea that like my soul has like this plan for me, and
Soul
sometimes I
purpose.
struggle
Yeah.
with that a little. I do feel like I have a purpose, but like I'm not. Sometimes I'm questioning lately, like, did I write this whole thing out ahead of time? Like, so. But those are
Yes.
little things. Those are mind games that I play with myself.
I
Right.
do that too, and I'm like, okay, so what was my purpose here? Why did I want
Right.
to do? Because I just
But
went
there are
through.
things, right, that like
Yeah.
I'll say this for me, like there are things that I just know are my truth. Like I know that I don't know, but I just know I came here to assist with balance in some way. Um,
Mm.
and that a lot of that is like, okay, then I need to be balanced and harmonized within myself. And for me, that's where it always starts. And then it's like outward from there.
Right. Right.
Or I came here to be an example of unconditional love. Like I know that feels
Unconditional love.
like
That's what I see from you.
truth in
Mhm.
my whole body. So I don't
And
know.
that's exactly what you exude. Like when you're in your post, and every time I've met you, and every time I've been around you,
Yeah.
it's this unconditional love. for everyone. And I think you're working on it for yourself.
I'm much better. Like so when we were talking about yes, like I am such an understanding and kind person towards others, and it like I struggle to extend that same courtesy to myself. But I will say, in the last 2 years, like I can look at myself in the mirror now, and I like really love myself. And I could like that is something I struggled with before, like looking in the mirror and being like, I love you. Like I can do that now. So it feels good to be there, and I'm making choices that are in alignment with that being my truth. So
That's good. And that's something I personally am working on. I think I'm starting to get there as well. But sometimes I think there's this voice in the back of me when I'm saying those things that are still saying like, you're worthless, you're a piece of crap, you're, like, or you're selfish, or you're gloating, or you're conceited, or, you still have those voices that come in. So I'm still learning how to accept that.
And that's,
So, Rachel, I did have a question about the end of life. I know I'm going to kind of revert back to that because, obviously being in the paranormal world, we talked a little bit off camera about this paranormal world and how you kind of both, are feeling drawn and interest in it. Have you've been with people as they're passing?
Yes.
Can you tell us some stories of things that proof that you have seen?
Oh, yeah. I tell you, um, so yeah, I've had a few experiences of uh, especially seeing the soul. Um, and I never thought that I would say that in my life until I actually began when my husband and we were serving churches in Hawaii. So we were there, and there it was just such a spiritual place. We were on the island of Kauai. And I have a good ghost story, but that'll be for another time. This was, we're talking about the soul right now. But I have, I've always felt other presences around me. I never knew what that meant or anything. I've always known that I have guardians, I have angels, and things like, people that are in my life that are watching over me and my family. Anyway, so when probably one of the first experiences I had was uh, uh, a member of my church. I was working for a hospice on Kauai, and their wife had passed, and immediately, and I don't always see this, but immediately I saw her aura right away as she was.
I'm just going to pause you just for a second.
Sure.
John, you came in perfect timing. You were just in my mind. I don't know why you were just in my mind, John. And I was like, John Covey needs to be here to hear this. And I have no idea why, but he's here now.
Wonderful.
Anyway.
So I'll say that. So I was at the bedside of this woman, and I knew, and I was surrounded by, in the culture, the family, everybody sits there. You sit vigil until that person passes, and after, and you hang out and eat together, and it's all very normal, which I loved. And so while we're sitting there, I'm sitting with her and watching. As soon as she closes her eyes, um, I'm like, she's passing right now, like before my eyes. And that was one of the first times I had ever seen that. Literally, I can actually still see in her mind. She was a painter, so I could see yellow all around her, yellow, orange, like that was the colors that she was exuding. And and I don't always see auras. I haven't had those experiences. I don't have them on a regular basis. But in that moment, that was one example of that where I saw it, and then it went away. I mean, it was a very quick. I mean, the way I'm talking, I'm going on and on about it, but it was it was very, very quick and fast. And then I just felt, but it was a very warm and wonderful feeling. It was such a happy feeling, and I knew she was at peace, and so did her husband, who's also very in tune with this as well. So it was a wonderful thing that
I
everybody
love that.
could feel that together. Yeah. So
That's so
that's
sweet.
one example. Yeah. Um, but yeah, there's a few. Another time I was with a woman, and somebody who I wouldn't think of necessarily as woo woo, as we as we might say, very kind of traditional Christian older lady, was passing, and she had a home nurse, and the nurse was in the room with me, and the nurse actually was Jamaican. And I say this because she was talking to me about her church and her family back in Jamaica and how very spiritual they were. Well, then we're sitting there with this woman, it was just her and I in the room, and the lights were off, but it was like the light was coming in the room from the windows. And all of a sudden, we're sitting there, and the lights flickered, flickered on. So one of the lights in the room flickered on. I mean, they were off. There were no lights on. The light flickered on, and then it went out. And she looked at me, and I looked at her. We both looked at the nurse, and I looked at each other, and we're just like, okay. And it was like we were like, okay, this is normal. Like it wasn't like we were scared or anything. We're just like, okay. And then we looked at the older lady, and she had passed. So that was an example of like the energy, talking about the
Energy. I was
energy,
going to say energy. Yeah.
and more of the energy. But I'm like, okay, so it's just confirmation to me that this is all happening. I mean, there's so many signs like this that I see. I mean, even in my own mother when she passed, um, and this is very common at the end where people will reach their hand up.
I've heard that.
And I'm like, why are they reaching their hand up? I suppose it would be a whole different thing if they're reaching their hand down. I mean, I've never had that, but reaching her hand up. And my mom, it's like, but why are they reaching their hand up? Like we're so traditionally taught, is it up here, right? That we're
Yeah.
the heavens or whatever we're reaching for. And then my mother passed. So it was like, or people will tell me that they see their loved one. Like I had a beautiful conversation with a woman one time. One more story, and then I'll stop. But she was talking to me, and she was in the bed, and she was toward the end of her life, and we were just having a conversation. And then all of a sudden, she's like, "Wait, hold on a minute." And then she's like, to her husband, who had passed. Her husband had passed must have been maybe 2 or 3 years prior. But she's like, wait, I need to tell my husband what you just said. And she's like having a conversation with him. He's right there with her. And, I just love that. And she was just like normal. And again, very traditional Christian woman, never, things like that. But she knew with me that she could kind of allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so those are just a few examples of kind of that experience of why I know, or why I believe, I should say. I don't know if I know what I know, but I believe that there is energy, a soul, a spirit that is surrounding us after death, 100%.
Yeah. Well, if it's here before death within Reiki, then it
Right.
definitely has to go somewhere. It has to do
That's
something.
right.
No.
Yeah.
Transmutes in a different form.
Right.
It
Well,
does.
yeah.
So Michelle, you were talking before we went live about how you're kind of getting this interest in more of that paranormal field and supernatural type of
You
force.
cut out a little bit.
I was saying we were talking right beforehand. I think my son just came back in and got on his games, so my internet's going to go funky. But you were talking about how you were kind of getting interest in paranormal and supernatural forces. You're kind of almost feeling drawn to it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just who I am and have always been. And so, but it's just clear to me, like, as I am doing like this journey, that part of me just wants to like come out more. And I was saying earlier, like, she just won't be denied. So I can't suppress it anymore. And so it's just very natural for me. And words like, mystic and oracle and witchy woman, so embracing those parts of me, husband, because like that's the stuff that like you hold in and you're like, I'm not gonna like show that part, but like I can't not, I have to. So
and I feel like obviously I'm a very witchy woman, very oracle, mystic, and I feel like I was like that for a very long time, and I'm not gonna lie, I still get messages, but I'm more confident in who I am in that, and it doesn't mean what people think it does, and I think
that's
when I say witchy, it doesn't mean that I'm out there, raising like evil horses to curse somebody.
I want to join the club. I want to be a witchy woman.
See, but that's like the thing. I look at you and I kind of already feel like you are. And
let's look at the definition back, or like, look, what would people think of you in the 1600s and the things that you're doing now? It definitely, would be considered.
I'd be out because I'm a woman preaching, so that's probably bad.
First of all,
I'm out already. So yeah.
But even just your like healing connection with nature and energy, and even just that.
And the connection with Buddhism, that is where my roots come from too. And I've been told, I think I got a post or comment or a message a couple months ago talking about showing me that all this evidence of how yoga is of the devil and it is satanistic and all this stuff. And I'm like, that is the philosophy behind it is so far from what that
on tarot cards, right? And doing readings and things like that. Like,
yeah, I do contemplative tarot readings with people and use it as a way to meditate. So there's a wonderful book, which I was trying to look for it a minute ago. It's called The Contemplative Tarot, but I can't remember the author. But it's a wonderful book where she takes all of the tarot, like all of the suits or on the tarot, and she examines each one from a faith perspective or like a spiritual.
I love that. I just found it. The Contemplative Tarot by, hold on, looking for the author.
I can't. I was going to look for
Brittany Mueller.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, but yeah,
that would be interesting.
So that's always a good one. But yeah, for me, and I wanted to give a shout out to, there's an Alicia here who just put a big comment. I wanted to thank her for sharing about the dream that she had shared about, and dreams are very, very powerful. And I've had that as well, Alicia, where, the dream, you have a dream and a vision of someone like that very close to you that comes to you and they give you this beautiful message. And that's so reassuring, to know that they're okay and that they trust you, that they know that you're open. That's one thing I'm trying to understand. And I think this is I'm glad you two are here, because I often wonder about, like, I want to be more open, or I feel more open at times, but also it feels so vulnerable to open myself to the spirit and then being sure I'm protecting myself. So all of those things, like I'm constantly weighing.
Yes. So I understand. And like part of my, I would say, awakening journey was like sort of confronting that fear that you're talking about, like that, because I've always had that awareness that I'm not alone, that there are other beings around, right? And so one day when I was in my MSW program and that whole everything is energy, like it also came to me, like, what if I'm not afraid of that shadow over there in the corner? And I just started to like confront that fear a little bit, like, but like with a curiosity, like, what if? And then
you saw out of your eye, or the voice you heard in your head.
Like, I just get curious. And then I started sort of like confronting some fears, like, the spider was one of those things. I was so afraid of spiders. And I was like, what if I educate myself about spiders? And now I freaking love spiders.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and again, you're taking one fear at a time. One of those breaking down that box or those
Sorry, I
walls.
have to keep going off camera because my nose and I don't know.
Oh,
So that's
oh
um
my
and yeah, and I
God.
think, I obviously do a lot more in that paranormal field and,
Mm-hmm.
and see a lot
Yeah,
more and have a lot more conversations with spirit, and I think a lot of times, sometimes it's like, okay, is that my voice or is that spirit's voice? And it
right.
took a couple times getting confirmation of like, okay, I couldn't have made that up,
Right,
but you're right. It can be scary. I've had some scary experiences of, what people would call sleep paralysis. I feel like it was, a spirit trying to communicate with me and I'm asleep and it's on me and it's like I hear
Holding
it
you there.
talk. It's holding me down and it's taking my energy. So there is a balance. And that's what my workshop is at the Paracon that I'm doing in September,
I'm so
is how
glad you
to protect yourself in some way, whether it be prayer or whether it be a certain ritual you do beforehand, whether it be stones you wear to protect yourself when you're starting investigations and when you're going to be talking to spirit and connected to spirit and
Mm-hmm.
knowing when to open and close yourself. Have you had that, Michelle? Like where you're?
I do. And I think like as an empath and, just coming to a place of wholeness and being a sovereign being. And that, like, that's why I know people are going to be like, what? I don't really believe in curses or anything like that anymore because I'm a sovereign being and I'm protected and I don't. So words are important. So there's a whole thing I could go into about that. But a
Mhm.
lot of those fears that I had before, like I don't have them anymore just because I trust that I'm protected and safe.
Yes, I
Yeah.
like that.
I
I
love
like that you're
that.
saying there because I think it's all about that intention, and that's what in my
Right.
workshops that I give, empowering people to believe just in that you in self have the power to, you are protected, and
Right.
if you open yourself up and believe that you're not, your thoughts are your reality is
Like I'm
basically.
not trying to like put out I'm not trying to invite curses. But I also like I'm just not afraid of that stuff. You know,
Right.
I
I
just
think
yeah.
helpful. Yeah. And people ask me like, oh, well, do you do like exorcisms or do you do, and I'm like, nope, I don't do that. I will bless you and I will bless your house. I do house blessings. I don't do the
Mhm,
cleansings. If then I would refer them to someone else who does that if that's what they're
mhm,
looking for. But I always try for me. I will give you all the blessings in the world, and of course we're already blessed as we are. But for me, that is definitely. I think Michelle's actually very helpful what you're saying to me because a lot of times people will ask me, "Oh, can you align my chakras? Can you get rid of this negative energy?" I'm like, well. I
are we
can't.
really getting to it or are they doing it,
Yeah, they want to get. It's like okay,
Mhm,
so it's like I can say, look, the Reiki is going to go where it needs to go. I'm not
mhm.
directing that, right? We all
Mm-hmm.
know speech. We say, okay, I'm not directing this energy, and the energy is going to go where, and like so, there, like you were talking about the sacral area being stuck on that one
Love you,
individual.
Alicia. I'm glad you're on. We're not going to be on much longer either. So thank you for joining tonight.
Yeah. So, it's just very interesting how um I always think about how we address that and as practitioners too, but I'm always saying everything's for the highest good. I'm surrounded by, the guardians and like you said just
Mhm.
being aware of that and trusting. I think trusting that you're protected is also important too. Um, and focusing on the positive and the positive words, I think is also
And
very
I've come
important.
to trust myself more too. Like if I do feel unsafe
Mm,
engaging with an energy, like I'm much better at being okay. Like I feel that there's something going on here. What's going on here? And like just sort of troubleshooting the situation. And then because I've seen myself be able to do that now, I then have a trust that whatever comes up, I can figure it out, or have resources available to help me. So
yes, absolutely.
Because we are community, we need each other.
Right.
Exactly. We do need each other. It's just amazing how, like what you were saying about energy flowing and how we don't. I just want to highlight that again, is that, we're not doing the cleansing in Reiki. Like if people ask me all the time, I don't know if you've ever get this, but I was at an event in July and I had back-to-back Reiki sessions, and it was in a paranormal event, and they were like, I need Reiki, I need to cleanse. I've been to some bad locations and negative energies, and I'm like, I'm back to back. Like it was like 5 hours, and I didn't deplete my energy. And they're like, how do you do that? And I'm like, doesn't that make you tired? And I'm like, actually, no, it does the exact opposite.
It's energizing.
I go into this, it's energizing, but peaceful and calm, because I go into my space when I'm giving Reiki, and it's like, it doesn't take my energy. And I was trying to explain to them like that. There is I'm a conduit. The energy it's not my energy I'm giving you to cleanse or balance, whatever you want to call it. I'm bringing that source energy down, and I'm a conduit of that energy. So I think that's really important for you to be able to understand in Reiki, is that it's not us.
That's right.
It's the universal design of things, right? Okay, so before we end for the night, is there anything else that you guys would like to say? Like, I know, Michelle, you have a podcast. Would you like to plug that for a minute? And where people can find you?
Yeah, and I would love to have both of you on. My podcast is called All the Things, and it is just that I talk about whatever my interests are. I have lots of them. But I do like to talk a lot about energy and the bridging of, science and spirituality, things like that. So
sign me up, Michelle. I'll be there.
I know. Yeah. Me
and
as well.
I'm very collaborative by nature. So I don't know. I love talking to people and asking questions. Very curious, very curious girl.
Yes, I probably should have had like a little graphic up that was showing about your podcast, and I didn't think about
it. Oh, and you can find out more if you would like to on my website, which I just launched. It's www.michellewolfe.me. So
okay. MichelleWolfe.me, everybody. And I will put that up when I re-share this video. I put that up in the comments too. And do you offer, like, I know you do the podcast. Is there other services and stuff that you offer? Are you working on?
I'm just getting back out into, I was doing coaching before, and then I stepped back to sort of pursue more like, 9-to-5 kind of stuff. But I'm getting back out there, and I do empowerment sessions. And I just really help people just work through, whether it's just conflict within themselves, feeling stuck, working through big life change stuff that's hard, relationship dynamics that are challenging. So things like that. And then I am writing a book that is a collaborative book project, which I'm so excited for. It's called Mixtape Memories, and it's basically an anthology of short stories, songs, and what those songs mean to the authors. So
awesome.
That's a work in progress. Yeah.
That'll be interesting. I'll make sure I look out for that one.
We've got lots of passion projects right now.
Passion projects. I like that. Passion projects. That fits you. It really does fit you.
It's been so fun, and it's just really fulfilling and joyful.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what we need to do. Like more in our life that's actually fulfilling.
Same.
And
that's what I want for people.
But,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, Rachel, what about you? What things do you offer? What do you have to tell us that people, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me at, my website is revrachelschwab.com. So you can find me there, find out more information. I'm really enjoying right now. I've just started a new program that I'm offering to businesses. So I work with some small business groups. I'm calling it Peace and Productivity in the Workplace Using the Reiki Principles as a Guide.
I love that.
That's something that I'm offering for businesses if they like, or any organization, whether it be a small or a large company. So offering that, and I'm very excited to hopefully launch that soon. And then I offer Reiki and I teach Reiki classes and just
I had a session with Rachel.
Oh, yeah.
It was
I did too once.
It was
I had a session with Rachel as well.
It's been a while.
It was so wonderful. You just have such a warm, loving
energy.
Warm.
Yes. Very warm energy. I remember that. It was years ago and I couldn't get in with Ricky. And I got in with you. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still offering sessions at Reiki Space and Learning Place, or are you at Carlisle Bowen Works?
I'm at Carlisle Bowen Works, which is in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and then I'm also in Carlisle, Pennsylvania now, offering sessions. My brand new site at Anahata Yoga.
Oh, nice!
Yeah.
That's where I had my yoga teacher training with Lena.
Yeah, she did. Lena.
I love her.
Lena.
Yeah. I love that.
Yes. Yes.
That's
See, connections. It's all about.
It is all about. It's the web. We're weaving it right now.
Yeah.
What is that one saying about Kevin Bacon? Like 7 degrees of Kevin
7 degrees.
Bacon. This is the 7 degrees of Reiki.
That's right.
Because I think we weren't in the same master class, but I think we all got our master right around the same time.
The same time, I think so. Yeah.
Like within the same year, I think we all got our master.
It was 2019 for me. Yeah.
Okay. No, you were before us.
She was the first. Yeah.
Yes, she was. She was already the master.
Yeah.
I'm still mastering myself every day.
Aren't we though? But we are. I know. I hate.
That's what it's all about. I mean, really.
I don't want to use the word master. I don't.
No, it's okay. Like we're here to master ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is. So, well, I appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Everybody, please go check out their websites again. MichelleWolfe.me, right?
Yeah.
And ReverendRachelSchwab.com. Are you just a .com? Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's Rev. Just Rev Rachel.
Rev.
You don't spell out the whole Reverend. Yeah.
RevRachelSchwab.com. And I will put those in the comments. I also put it in the show notes for those who are listening to this on Spotify. You can go find them. If you are here on Facebook, please go give them a like and a follow. And I appreciate everybody for coming on tonight. And ladies, thank you so much. There was a reason you were here.
Yeah.
And I loved where this conversation went. So thank you guys so much. And remember, everybody that's watching and you ladies here with us, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So please fill your cup first before you do so. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks.